All right, guys, welcome back to another edition of the Addictively Speaking podcast. I'm your host, James, and today I have Rory Londer, and he's as a published author. He has a book called "I Should Have Been Dead," and we're going to talk about his addiction and recovery story and anything else he'd like to chat about. I'd love to hear your story, Rory. Tell everybody who you are and a little bit about yourself and your journey.
Thank you, James. My name is Rory Londer, and I'm from Rochester, Minnesota. And I believe, I, like many people in recovery with addiction, when I was young, I didn't, wasn't something you plan. It just kind of happens along the way. And in my story, I had loving parents, and I had a home to go to, and I got a hug once in a while. And, it was, I can't really say that there was something that kind of set me on a path ever since I was young. What happened is in my early 20s, I had a lot of loss. My father had passed away, and I found him. My mother passed away. My best friend passed away. My grandpa passed away. Pretty much everyone in my world that was the core of that I loved more than anyone, the top four, and it would be those four, all passed away. And what I found is, as a recreational user early on, that when I drank or when I did a little bit of drugs or smoked a little weed or did whatever I did, it kind of eased the pain and kind of detached me and removed me from a lot of the emotion and feeling that I was feeling. And I found during those times myself using more. And at some point, in our recovery programs, they talk about it. Men and women drink or use essentially because the effects produced by the drug or the drink. And what happened with me is all of a sudden I started needing it. I started use because the effects produced by my body when I didn't use. And that's where I believe the addiction and that need came in. And once that set in, James, it was unbelievable. It set me on this course of 17 years of a cocaine and alcohol addiction that just led me to many, many bad choices, to the depths of hell, to jails, to being locked up. I even got locked up in Mexico in a jail. It took the American Consulate for the United States to get me out of a Mexican jail in 2003. I lived in crack houses and basements. I slept in shelters that were just not a safe place for a 120-pound, drug addict with really no fight, no strength. And somehow I persevered. And I believe that this higher power, this spirituality, that whatever we find believe in greater than ourselves, because I think we believe in all these other things. And my mentors taught me about that. They said, Rory, you make decisions with your wallet and the thing between your legs and your head. And, why don't you start using this right here? They'd tap on their chest. Why don't you make some decisions with your heart and maybe bring the big guy into the picture, bring that higher power into the picture and make some decisions that way and see how things go. So being in the slow learners club, like the recovery books talk about, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, even the promises, they always materialize if we work for them. Oh boy, did I have to work, because I understand when it says disgustingly antisocial or an unlovely creature. And that's what I was. And so to come back into the reality of the world and maintain a job and try and have a relationship with another human being, what I don't think people understand was hard. It wasn't just because, he's a drug addict or this or that. And I say this every time I speak. It's because the simple fact that us people, when we live homeless, and even just drug addicts, that the world I don't think understands is we know we look different. We know that we smell. We know that you're grabbing your little child and pulling them away because you're intimidated by us. We know that. And what I want the world to know is when that happens, when that dynamic happens in that moment, that makes it harder for a person, because not only do we know we're a drug addict, we know we're all these things, we begin to create this feeling that we're less than. Because in the world's eyes and in society, we're a derelict. The term they use is a defect of society. Try and be an asset, contribute to life. Don't always see what you can take out of it. And people look at you, and you just get a job and quit drinking, and then maybe things won't be bad. And there's more to it. There's a whole recovery program about taking yourself and creating spirituality and laying it out and making amends and then cleaning house. And there's a ton of work to do. And so when they say, if we work for them, when we read these promises about how we can get to that next point. And for me, it was these relationships. I met these people along the way, James. Oh my God. I met these people, one guy, and he's in the book again and again, Indian Mike, and he was this old Indian man. And he would say things to me. He wasn't nice to me, but he was kind of a dick. He said little shitty comments to me like, "Oh, your neck must hurt," or maybe if you weren't thinking about yourself so much, it wouldn't be so bad. He kind of said these things that knocked me down a little bit, and I would get upset with him, like, I'm sharing my personal life with you, man. I'm trying to be intimate and open and honest with you, and then you throw it in my face. You're kind of a dickhead, and some of the stuff you say too, buddy, it doesn't even make sense. I think you're kind of dumb. But here, 20 years later, he passed away about 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. All these little things he was saying, there's finally, and it just reminds me how much of a slow learner that I am. Because here I am, 8 years later. I'm like, oh, that's what he was meaning. And I'm like, God, I just am so stubborn and so set on my thinking and thinking that I know what I need to do and what's going to best suit me and what's best in my life. And the reality is, and when I sponsor men, in recovery and in sobriety, I tell them, it's like, I'm not going to pick on you, but I want you to do this. Rewind the camera 2 years and press play. How you doing, buddy? You fucked everything up. Everyone's left you. Your wife left you. You're, you have nothing. You lost your job. How do you think that you know what's best for you? Look at your life, not to be a dick, but you're living in a treatment or a meeting at jail or in a prison, and then you still and you still think that you know what's best. And these guys, I look at them, I'm like, God, that's exactly how I was. I was sometimes my biggest enemy. I mean, this little head here is stuck to these shoulders, where they talk about recovery. Wherever you go, there you are. It's like, oh, that's just another dick comment. No, wherever I go, there I am. That head's up there. And it gets in the way. So we learn about humility and surrendering and, give it away, give it up. And that's hard. When you're coming off the streets, I lived homeless at 3 different times in my life for a period of a couple months, a year and a half, another time, a couple months, but 3 different times in 3 different cities. And then I'd get in a halfway house, a treatment, halfway house, some kind of sober living. I'd work the system and get somewhere, get on my feet with some little shitty job and then get going again, then fuck it up and start drinking again, and then back. And throughout my book, when people read it, they tell me, and it's all over the internet, it's all over Amazon. You can go on Amazon and read reviews. But again, they say the reason they like the book because it's like, God, is this guy ever going to get it? And then I don't, and then I use again. So then I'm like, okay, I got to keep reading. So these people, and like I said, go on Amazon yourself. They're reviews from around the world, so they're not even just from the U.S., of how the book pulls you in. Because it's, and it's not about I'm a great person, nothing. No, it's about all the shit I did. Is the actually truth about it. It's all these horrible, dumb things I've done. James, I robbed a gas station in 1999. I robbed a gas station. It's called a Super America, but it was all over the news. And it was like the SA Bandit strikes again. I was the SA Bandit. I was on the news, the radio, the TV. And I used my finger. I put my finger in a sweatshirt. And I'm like, give me the money. And they gave me the money, and I took the money, and I'm running out of the store, and I'm looking, and there, I swear to God, there's probably 11 to 13 cameras, every angle at the gas pumps, at this, and I'm running. I got no mask on, and I'm looking up at all these goddamn cameras. I'm like, God damn, I'm screwed, man. This is I've done dumb shit, but this is bad. This is really bad. This is, in our country, they call it aggravated robbery. Like, this is, you're going to the big boys. You're going to the big boy place. You're done. All for, I think, $400 or $600, whatever it was. And I'm like, oh, shit. So through my journey, as I did these things, whether it would be Mexico, whether it be robbing gas stations, whether it be anything that I did, the one thing that I knew all through my journey, even since I was even a little boy, I knew I wanted something different, James, but I just didn't know what it was. I knew I didn't want that life. I didn't want to be a crackhead. I didn't want to be an alcoholic. But I can't say like, oh, I wanted to be a fireman. I always wanted to be a fireman. No, I didn't have that. And God bless whoever does have that. I'm not knocking it. In my story, I'm just saying I did it. I didn't know what I wanted, but I knew it wasn't this. That much I knew. And that kept me going. Another thing that through all the pain and the suffering and misery and failure, whenever I'd be in a county jail or locked up, I'd get these National Geographic magazines. And I'd page through them and I'd read about all these places, and it would remove me from my surroundings. I read about Bora Bora and Tahiti and the island of Moorea and the French Polynesia with these little overwater bungalows and this blue water and a glass floor and the overwater. I'm like, God, I know I'll never go there. but I want to go there one day. And I looked at the Galapagos Islands, oh my God, it's off Ecuador, and Darwin has all this stuff, and it's all these animals, and it's untouched. James, I've been to both places. I took my wife to Bora Bora. After I got married, I'd been sober a while, and we went there, and I stood in this, I get choked up. I stood there in this little overwater fucking bungalow or whatever it was, and I'm just starting to weep, thinking, man, people like us, this don't happen. And I look up across the thing because there's people are carrying our luggage for us. They do everything for you. And I look at my wife, and she's weeping, and I'm thinking, whew, like, I can't make this shit up. Like, it's pretty cool, man. And I know it's just stuff and places, but to me, it meant a lot. Then Ecuador, after I found out I had cancer and I figured I was going to die, I called my brother and I talked to my niece and nephew. I said, where do you guys want to go? Anywhere in the world. And my niece, Taylor, she says, Rory, I want to go to Ecuador. I want to go to Galapagos, which is off Ecuador. But okay, let's go. So we go there. We land there, and we go on this adventure where we go snorkeling with the tortugas, the 100-pound turtles. They're famous for all that. And we're snorkeling, and I have so much emotion as I'm swimming. I'm looking back at my brother and his kids, and my wife's on the beach, and we're snorkeling, and we got a guide with us. And I have so much emotion going through me that I don't even know. I'm crying, and my full face mask is filling up with tears, and I can taste the salt. And it's like, that's not the salt water, that's my tears. And then I realized I think I was pissing myself. So I looked back, and I seen my niece and nephew behind me. So I kind of swam to the side because I think I was pissing myself because I was just so emotional. Like, I couldn't believe that this is where I was, man. When you're sitting there begging on corners, trying to stay warm, homeless, and then you're doing these amazing things. It's like, first off, why do I even deserve this? And it's not that I didn't deserve or I do, but it crosses your mind. And it's like, well, fuck, I've worked for it. I've worked 7 days a week for years. I created a business, a huge business. And so I'm at peace with that, but just how the gratitude was so extreme in those moments, man, that I just lost my shit. And today I continue to, because, where I came from and people where I come from, it's very rare that this is what happens, the life that they get. And then even with cancer, man, I still get to carry on, and I'm doing these things, and I'm speaking. If you thought you only had a little short time left, I mean, how else would a guy want to spend it but going around inspiring the world and speaking and sharing my experience, strength, and hope? And not everybody's going to like me, but goddamn, man, about 99.9% of fucking people do, and it's pretty cool. Because I'm going to tell you a secret. When I was out there fucking using, 99.9% of people didn't like me, and 1% did. So you know what? I'll fucking take it, buddy. This is life today is much better, of course. Full of gratitude, man. Full of gratitude. So,
wow.
I'll tell you how the laundromat
sounds like you've had an amazing journey. Let's hear about it. Let's hear about the laundromat.
So the laundromat, buddy, I had been working for this company right after I sobered up. And I was working for this company called Bob's Construction for a while. And I did about 15 years with them, actually quite a while. And 3 years in, they're the ones that actually sent me to Mexico. They're like, you're our best employee. We're sending you on a trip. And I'd been sober a couple of years. And I went there and fell off, and that whole story, that's a whole long story, but we won't get into that today. Just simple. I fell off down there, got back on coke, missed my plane back, got arrested, got put in a jail, sat in jail for just a few days. I don't want to glorify. I wasn't like I was in a Mexican prison. No, I was in a jail in Cancun for about 3 days. But it did take the American consulate and a representative from Trans Global Airlines back in the day to escort me back to the airport and send me home and get me out of Mexico. So that was by my chinny chin chin. One of them deals where like, hey, is this guy ever going to get it? But anyhow, I worked for that company, like I said, for 15 years. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to go on my own. And I want to try and create my own thing. I want to do, Rory's Home Improvement is what we called it. And so I started out, James, in this little bait store. And it was like a shed. It was 12 feet wide in the front and 16 feet long. So it was 12 foot by 16, just like a shed, small, little, they'd sell bait out of it. And I put a little sign on the roof called Rory's Home Improvement. And started selling windows, siding, roofing. Had a little old shitty rusty van. We used to call it the petty van. I mean, we used to, everyone pick on us like, hey, you got to get nicer equipment, dude. It was just rusted out. And we'd go by parks and kids would run and stuff. And we're like, all right, we got to get better equipment. And so we got nicer trucks, nicer trailers. And I built this company. It was where I got to a point. I was putting these little yard signs. Every time we did a job, we'd stick a sign in the yard. They were all over our town. And I thought, man, things are going really good. Things are growing. And then the day came, the lady that owned the bait store, there's a laundromat, the one I used to sleep in when I was homeless in this town on cold nights, came up for sale. And the lady called me, and she didn't know any of my backstory. But she said, Rory, I was wondering if you want to buy the laundromat. And the laundromat was in the same kind of parking lot as the shed. So it was right next to each other.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, my God, I'd love to. She's this gal from Muskogee, Oklahoma. But so I went around to the banks in town. I went to Wells Fargo and Sterling and Home Federal. I went to all these banks. And everyone's like, oh, it's in the underwriters. We haven't heard back. And they gave me all these excuses. And finally, they had just built this brand new bank. And it was all glass. Looked like the Bellagio in Las Vegas. All marble tile, chandeliers hanging from the ceiling. And I went in there. And I hear somebody yell, hey, Rory. And for me, with the kind of lifestyle that I've lived, James, that can be 50-50. That can be good or it can be bad.
Yeah.
So I'm
it's either good or bad. Yeah.
Like, all right,
you're just like, yeah.
So the guy yells, I'm looking over the top of his door on his name placard. It says President Mike Zinsner. And he's in the book and had to sign a liability form so I could use his name and everything. He's an awesome dude. But I said, hey, Mike, hey, Rory, what are you doing? Come on, come over here. He waves me over. I walk towards him and he says, what are you here? What can I help? What are you here for today? I said, Mike, you know that old shitty laundromat down on 3rd Avenue? Yeah, I know the place. I said, well, I want to buy it. He says, huh? I'll tell you this much. I said, I've seen your yard signs everywhere, all around town. Like you're growing, buddy. They're everywhere. We see your stuff. And I know you do good work. And he knew that because when I worked for that other company for 15 years for Bob's Construction, I did a big kitchen remodel in his house. He said, man, you're skilled at what you do. I see your company growing. Send us all your financials and we're going to let you know by Friday. We're going to check out on Friday. We'll let you know I have an answer. So I'm like, oh, good. I've been waiting months on these other things. So Friday, James, my phone rings and I look at it and it says West Bank. And the self-doubt already starts in it. So I said, oh, well, that's okay. I know he's going to tell me no. I tried. I mean, at least he talked to me and he was respectful. And I answered the phone and, hey, Rory. I'm like, hey, Mike. And it's a tough one. So we talked over everything and we want to work with you. And I thought, son of a bitch. It's all I needed. That's what people don't understand. I just needed someone to give me a chance. So I took every dime that I had. I scraped stuff up. I dug up coffee cans in the yard. I cashed a check the morning of the closing to make sure we had enough money in the bank account with my wife, not even shitting you. It was ridiculous. And had just enough. And I bought this old shitty laundromat that was just bad. But on one of the primest locations and the most meaningful thing to me there could ever be. And in that laundromat, I remodeled the whole place. And you know what I made it look like? Just like the Bellagio, just like West Bank. I had chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, fucking marble tile. Excuse me. Everything that all these nice places had. And it took me 2 years. I didn't rush it. People are like, God, why don't you start selling out of there? I'm like, no, not till it's ready. And I worked Saturdays, Sundays, nights till 10, 11 o'clock. My wife would bring me dinner. I took tile and even made a logo for my business out of little tiles. I mean, it was so custom and so beautiful that after I was done, when local townspeople would come in from the neighborhood, they'd walk in, they'd open the door, and 9 out of 10 of them would be like, oh my God, I didn't expect this. I'm like, I know. It's beautiful. So what I've learned in recovery and with that story is what you put into something is what you're going to get out of it. And what I know this about addicts, we have some of the hardest drive. I mean, we have to survive in the cold. We have to coordinate. We have to organize the money and save. So if I got 2, I can get a little more bag of dope. And then I got 6, we could go out and hustle. We could take an empty gas can and hit up little nurses at the Mayo Clinic and get up $20 an hour so I can get some more dope. So this is what I know about addicts. We could do some shit. We've proven it. We all got story in the addict. You let them start talking. They're going to tell you the story. Oh, dude, this one day uphill both ways in the snow. I didn't even have $1 and I had to get a short and blah, blah. They're going to tell you this big old fucking story. But then then you ask them, hey, man, why don't you just work a little 8-hour-a-day job at fucking the lumber yard and get $800 a week? Oh, no, I can't get up that early in the morning. Really? You did dope for 17 days straight and didn't sleep, you fucking just told me. And now you're worried about a fucking 40-hour-a-week job? You get off your ass, pick your shit up, get your fucking head out of your ass, and you go do something. And so these men I sponsor, they don't like me. I'm this little guy, wiry, but I'll call them on their shit. And it is the reality because we are addicts and people in recovery. We are some of the most skilled, go-getter, there's story. I mean, there's stuff about Einstein and whatever you really read into it. Some of the greatest people of this world, they have these kind of behaviors that we have. And what I've learned is take those behaviors and use them rightly. Put them into something fucking good, not hustling and sneaking and doing whatever. I mean, the alcoholic, they have to hide their bottle and then quick and get all the family out of the house so they can take a sip and do. It's a whole charade, and it's like putting on a fucking show. And it's like, so again, we show in our addiction our abilities we have. If we can find recovery and be not active in our addiction and then find a way to use those abilities that we have. We've created them in the last 20 years or however long you've had your addiction or your problem, and then put it into something rightly. I see people in my town excel like beyond others. Like, oh, dude built that landscaping company in 4 years. Like, what the fuck? He had a shitty truck with a push lawnmower. And the guy's got 4 brand new trucks, 9 guys working for him, and John Deere lawnmower tractors. I'm like, God damn, did this guy come up? And that's a drug addict. That's a drug addict that did that in 4 years, in 6 years. So I can't stress enough in recovery how take those abilities, man, and use them rightly. But we got to find, in that early part, we got to find out. We have to find someone, go to a meeting, go get involved in recovery, there's a ton of ways. I'm not set either. And then for me, I say this, and I know some people frown on me a little bit for it, but I went to all recovery stuff. I went to NA, AA, CMA, crystal meth. And people are like, oh, Rory, how can you go to one or the other? I said, man, they both have the same principles. They all do. And I'm going to take whatever I can get. I'm all over the place. I'm this hyper freak guy. Like, it would be Tuesday night and there wouldn't be an NA meeting or A meeting. I'm like, well, shit, where are we going to go? CMA. Well, what's that? That's crystal meth. All right, fuck it. I didn't use that, but I'm going. And I went and I did. And I took. The one thing they do all say, take what you want and leave the rest behind. So I did. I went to all these different meetings. And then even with religion, people ask, oh, are you religious? Are you this? Do you go to church? I don't, but I've sponsored men that believe in Buddha, Allah, Great Spirit, Moses, Jesus, God. I've met wonderful people from all sectors. And each one of them, in each of those areas that I mentioned, took me to either their chapel or place of worship or to some celebration. And I can say this honestly, James, I can look you right in the eye and tell you this honestly. I felt something on my arm, man, like a chill. And I don't know what it is they got going on, but it seemed to be something okay. And, so I don't look down at, I don't judge. I don't, the program teaches us open-mindedness is the key. So if you read an NA or A, open-mindedness is the key. So I learned to be open-minded because I wasn't growing up. I'm like, oh no, you can't, that's wrong. And you can't believe like that. And that's bullshit. We're right, they're wrong. Oh, that's the problem with our world. They're right, I'm wrong, blah, blah, blah. And that blocks me off from the sunlight of my spirit when I have that thinking. It really does. Or if you want to go a little deeper and be not even involve religion or race or spirituality, would be it blocks me off from having good communication with other people. The second I want to judge or look down or look up to people, and this was an Indian Mike thing again too. Here's his lesson in this. He walks in the A club one day and he says, hey, Rory. I'm like, what, Mike? What is it? I know something's coming. I know he's going to say some shit. And he says to me, hey, your neck must work. Why? Or your neck must hurt. Why, Mike? Why does my neck hurt? Why does it? I'm waiting for it to come. What's he going to tell me? He said, you're always looking up and down to everybody. You either want to be like him with this pretty girlfriend and a nice car, or this guy in the corner with a sign begging for money, he's a piece of shit. You're looking up and down. That's why your neck must hurt. Why don't you start looking at people, straight at them, and then you might have better connections. And like always, I thought, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. This guy is just like someone, I think he needs a sponsor. He's dumb, man. And here I am, 8 years after his death, and I understand what he meant, finally. I know exactly what he meant. And you know what? He was exactly right. And I do it every day. And I thought, God, man, this guy, he was wiser than I ever thought he was. And I didn't know it in the moment. And then it makes me look at my life. Like maybe that's been a lot of my struggles, that a lot of times I've held myself back because I think I know and you don't know me and I know what's best for me and you don't know what I've been through. It's not really about that at the end of the day. It's about, in recovery, we talk about, you know, addictively speaking, like your program is. We talk about the we. Come become a part of the we. Become part of. Don't go fucking do it by yourself. Your history shows you don't do very well on your own. Come on down here and hang out.
Yeah.
Let's fucking do this together.
You don't do good.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I like that. Those are things. So yeah. I'm getting going now.
You're really wound up. You're really going, man. I love it. I love it. I love the energy. Let's talk about your speaking. So when you got sober, what got you into the speaking forum? Like, you know, I did a lot of school speaking when I got sober as well. I mean, I just think it's really great to be able to give back to the youth and hopefully help people. I mean, what was your motivation?
Well, it was the mentors again. I was down at the AA club in our town, and they said, "Oh, it's last Saturday of the month, speaker night, and you haven't spoke yet. You're sober 2 years. It's your turn. You're speaking." I'm like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, you're speaking." And you know, I was the kid in class where I was like going making noise, trying to get the girls to look at me and laugh, you know, and do whatever. So I mean, I always was trying to get attention in a sense. I'm the baby of 4 boys. It's not like we always had stuff to do, but. So I was fine with it. I'm like, okay, I'm telling my story. They made up little flashcards and how I tell it. I ended up throwing them away, you know, God. And that's the thing. I never use anything. I just come out of the heart because I've realized just in my speaking, the best, most effect I've had in speaking and when it was real, raw, and authentic. And to be that, I can't script none of it. It's got to just come out. So I, like you do your podcast, you just kind of go with it because though you'll have those moments when that's going to be the good shit. Yeah. And we're going to hit on something or whatever. It's not all cute and this.
Absolutely. I feel like when I do my best speaking is when I just speak from my heart and speak what's on my mind and like tell my truth, because I learned, like, I just never was one of those people who could sit down and write out like the thoughts I was having. I just have to be in the moment and do it. You know, I found that to be the easiest way for me. And it usually resonates the most because people relate to it because it's authentic, isn't it? It's what's
correct.
You know, what's in your heart. It's what's coming out.
Yeah. So I spoke, like you had asked. The last Saturday of the month came and I spoke and everyone's clapping and they're like, "Oh my God, your story. We didn't know this about you. And we never heard that about Mexico. But but SA Bandit, we knew because we all read about you in the newspaper. You're on the front page and blah, blah, blah." But I'm like, yeah, I know. But kind of some of my less brighter moments in life, the whole town knew. And that's a town of 110,000, mind you. So that's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a lot of people. So I was speaking in the clubs and the mentors came and they're like, "Rory, people really like when you speak. Like you're funny and it's fun and you really make a point and you make an impact and you probably got to slow down. You talk a little fast, and I still do. But you make an impact and it's like, I take a whole crowd of 100 people and have them in tears. And then I bring them back to happiness and laughing and whatever. And the women, especially, they'd talk to me after the speaking and they'd hug me and be crying. And, I lost my mother to this, or I understand your pain or something. And I don't know what I'm doing. And I think that's part of the blessing in this, that I don't know. Because if I do, I'll think I fucking know something. Excuse my language. But then you get cocky and arrogant. I'm just being me. And that's the fight. It's to stay me, to be fast talking, wiggly, whatever, swear a little too much here and there. But I'm not trying to, my biggest quest right now in life is not to change. Because I go in, I get asked, James, to go to, I'm speaking in churches at these galas of these homelessness shelters, and everyone's in suits and stuff. I'm like, Jesus Christ. If these people even knew who I used to be, like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't even know why they're standing here watching, listening to me. I'm just some fluff off the block that survived. And I refuse to give up, man, even through all the pain and the drugs and the homelessness. And now with cancer, my oncology team, when they stand together, there was moments where there's 7 of them standing in front of me, and they're like, Rory, we see a lot of patients here, and you're we can't explain you. Like, well, my mama couldn't either. So, and I say that in a positive sense, that they can't by the science, they don't know why I'm doing so well. I mean, yes, I got some immunotherapies and they got in there and did what they needed to do, but I'm just doing well. And so I really believe I've been given time, James, not to turn this weird or anything or religious, and I'm not, but I believe like my higher power, God or whatever, that it's like, all right, little boy, or, big daddy, little dad, I'm going to give you time, but this is what you can do. You're not going to get more stuff. I'm not giving you time so you can make more money and get more stuff. I'm going to give you time, but you're going to go out and talk to the world, and you're going to tell them your story. And I don't want you keeping nothing out. Don't you be hiding shit and whatever. It's that those things that you're willing to share that others don't. That's what's getting them. That's what you fucking need to share. And I believe this in my core. That's what it is. So I go out and I share, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm sharing a little too much. I'm going to get booed off a stage or something. And I don't. People are clapping, and then they're asking me to go to 2 other events. Before I leave that event, there's people like, hey, would you be willing to come up and speak to 5 people a 4-hour drive away? And I tell them, I'll come speak to 2. I don't care. I'll do whatever you want. I get this time, this gift, and I'll do anything to help anybody, anywhere, anything I can do, because I've been given all this shit's a gift, man. I got a fucking good life, and I'm not special, and I didn't go to college. There's nothing special about me, but God's blessed me, and he's given me this time, and so I'm going to do what I can, and it's working. This, like I said, the book released, the invites to these events, like nonstop. I'm booked out for months. I don't even know what's going on. Every other day I've got a podcast, and I'm only finally learning how to do the mic and the headset. I got a little backdrop, and it's like I'm pulling this shit out. Yeah. This is like my 4th podcast, and I'm just learning as I go, James. And all the while I'm taking my higher power in this insurgency of staying myself. Don't worry, like, oh, you got to sit up, Rory. No, talk proper. Don't swear. No, just I'm going to stay being me. I'm going to stay being me. So, yeah. So the speaking, I guess, to finish on that. Thank you, buddy. Yeah. The speaking for sure. It's just it's grown. So I did it. People have liked it. They keep inviting me, and it continues to grow. That's it. That's the dynamic in it. I don't have people say you should get a publisher or a publicist. I've been told you need to get a publicist now. We haven't thought about any of that, and I don't know that we will. We're just going to keep going with it. I've been invited to Ventura, California, Juneau, Alaska, Tennessee. So this next year, when the school season starts, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm pretty excited about it. So in the emails and the messenger messages, they come in every day. So we get messages every single day, the author and I, to our website. Yeah, with invites, with all these different things, and like I said, churches, high schools, AA, NA campouts, festivals. Like, we don't even know what some of the events, why they would want me to be a part, but someone heard me somewhere, and it's just kind of growing and growing and growing, and it's just happening.
That's amazing.
I'm just so excited, dude. That's why I get all jacked up. It's like this, it just keeps going and going, and it's exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome that you get to share your experience with so many people in so many different places. It's like a blessing, that you get that, you got this time to go do that, and and share everything with everybody. I like that you're just so raw, and you're just talking about the things that need to be talked about, being homeless, what it was like, how did people look at you when you were homeless? Because that's the thing, and it's like what you said, Indian Mike, with the, you're looking up, you're looking down, and it's true for everybody. We all do it, don't we? We pass judgment, and we don't look people at where they're at. And I think,
and meet them where they're at.
Yeah, and in recovery too, you know, some people that have a lot of years look at people who don't have a lot of time behind them differently, right? They you know,
They
so
do.
you know, you gotta unify the recovery community, I think, as well, because there's a bit judgy
Yeah.
on some people for certain things, and you know, I think the thing is with my podcast and with this whole thing is to just unify people in a way that, you know, we can learn from each other. We all have a
Yes.
story, you know? It's not the
Yeah.
same story, but we have a story. We all have a story. We all went through some shit. We all did some
Yep.
things that we're not very proud of, but we've
Yes.
come out of it. We've done the things that we need to do to remain sober and to build better lives. And hopefully, in doing that, we can share that with others, right? Like that for
Sure.
me, I didn't think I'd be here. I didn't think I'd be alive. I didn't think I'd make it. You know, I thought I would fuck things up so badly. I'd either end up dead or in jail. I thought those were my only two options. And to
Yep.
have a life outside of that is it blows my mind sometimes. I don't even know how it's
Yeah.
happened, but you know, it has. And I'm so grateful for it. But yeah, it's a wonderful thing to share this journey with other people and to hear their stories and you know, just relate to people that have done it, have been through the same thing because you feel a little bit you feel comfortable, you know. I feel comfortable when I'm talking with somebody who's had an addiction issue because they understand like the shit that goes on in our heads, the shit that we go
Yeah.
through daily.
Insanity.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, yeah, and people think that like well, you get sober and that's it. Like, no.
No,
Like
it's still there.
it's every day. It's every single day. There's something
Right.
going on. You know,
Yeah.
it is, you know, the reason why people relapse is because they go back to what's comfortable. They go back to what's taking everything away or numbing everything or
Yep.
creating that escape.
The
Staying
character
sober is
defects.
the
Yeah.
hardest thing. Yeah. And the staying sober is the hardest thing to do because you have to mentally prepare yourself for a life where there is no escape. You're not escaping, you're facing it. You're dealing with it. And
Yeah. The,
we don't typically do that. That's not what we were doing for however long our addiction was it? You know, you were
no, we run from it. We hide.
numbing or using.
Yep. And then we tell them, no, 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 I'm not. I'm not that bad. It's not. That's part of that character defect. It's you talked about, you figured you were going to die or you were going to be, or be in jail. And there's so I always look at it as a wheel with three pieces, three pie chart pieces, like they say in recovery: jails, institutions, or death. And we sit and we spin that wheel back to an institution, back to jail, back to treatment, back to how many times are you going to spin that? Because those pie slices are exactly even. 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. Jails, institutions, or death. How many times do you think that you're going to spin that wheel and you're not going to get death? Because that's an option. That's a 1/3, a 33% chance every time you go back. And you talk about connections and meeting people where they're at. And my greatest story is this guy named Tyler, and he's in the book. He's in the back of the book. And Tyler, before I sold my business, I came out to the little tree area behind my business, the laundromat, and there's this hammock and a guy sleeping in there, and there's heroin needles underneath it or needles on the ground. And the guy quickly says, "Oh no, hey, I'm leaving. And I said, "Excuse me? You don't have to leave." I said, "You see that sign, that big, huge bulletin board that says Rory? That's me. And if a cop or someone comes, you fucking tell them to call me. You can stay here as long as you need to." And the guy looked at me, Tyler, and he says, "Thanks, man. Okay." And I said, and I know better. Like I tell people, don't ever give someone even $1. Like people ask me all the time, "Rory, do you give these people money? Do you give them $1? Do you give them a nickel?" No, I won't even give them a penny. Never. But what I will do, I'll ask them like I did Tyler. "Hey, Tyler, have you eaten today?" "No." "Do you want some food?" "Yeah." So we walked across the street to the gas station, and all kind, even as an addict and nice, he got a little like mini bottle of something, juice or milk or whatever it was, just a mini one. And then he got a little like hot dog, a little 50-cent shitty hot dog on the little heat lamp thing turning. And I'm like, "Dude, get some food and some drink." "Really?" And so we grabbed some food and drink. And I sat with him and talked to him, or probably just talked his ear off for about 10 minutes on that curb. And then here's the punchline in it. about a year later, I'm at the opening of this shelter in our town, this new shelter that's going to be open to 8 hours during the day and then a warming house at night. And this guy walks up to me, and have you ever been in a Mercedes or a BMW dealership where they sell cars? The guys are in like suits and dressed nice and clean shaven.
Yeah.
They look like they could be a movie star. It's like a handsome looking dude. And this guy walks up and says, "Hi, Rory, I'm Tyler, and I don't know that you remember me." And I'm looking, and my wife's with me, all prettied up for the night. And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I don't." And he says, "I'm the guy that was sleeping behind your business." And I thought, fuck, man. He was unrecognizable. This dude was a good looking dude, man. He could sell BMWs. I'm not playing. And he said, "You talking to me that day and treating me like a human being helped change my life." And I turned myself in. I had warrants. That night, I turned myself in. "Thank you." And he gave me a big old hug. And I look at my wife, and again, she's crying. I'm crying. And that's what all this is about, man. This is what you're doing here. Make sure you always remember this. That's what all this is about recovery, addictively speaking, connections, relatable, reaching down, taking our arm, because we have life today. When you see that, to take your arm and reach down into hell and grab someone and give them a chance. And you know, not always are they going to grab. I understand that. People are like, "Oh, well, you couldn't help so-and-so. Why not?" Some people don't want to be helped. But when they're ready and someone's willing to try, I reach and they grab and they come up. And that's one of those cases. And today he's a mentor. He's a recovery specialist at one of the fucking treatment centers. And it's just amazing. I'm so proud of him. And I'm so proud to have known him, because it gives me value and worth beyond anything that I own to know. And there's, and I got to be careful I say this when I'm trying to be humble, but there's dozens upon dozens of people in this book and in our town just like that. That's probably why I'm doing what I am today, and that I'm doing good. There's these men, like when I was dying with cancer, this guy walks in a suit, and he's one of the first guys that I sponsored. And he's got a master's degree in social work, working at the Mayo Clinic, James, at the greatest hospital. And it's coronavirus, so my wife couldn't even come in the hospital to my room. The world's shut down. And here comes this gentleman, I won't use his name, standing at my bedside in his suit with a master's degree with his name tag. And I'm looking at him thinking, man, if these fuckers even know who we were. Because I remember him crawling up my back door, all hooked on methamphetamines, with his fingers and his lips burnt and whatnot. And here he is at my bedside as a social worker with a master's degree in the greatest hospital in the world. And then I'm sitting here dying, and he's worried, he's worried about me. And I'm thinking, I don't even fucking care that I'm dying. Knowing that I'm experiencing this right now, this is like the good stuff. This is the stuff that, it's the best stuff. It's the good stuff. There's the stuff that you can't make up, that it's invaluable, man. And only people that are addicts and in recovery get that. It's amazing to see him, 15 years later, or 17 years later. And it's like, man, if these people don't even know who he used to be, it's unreal how awesome that people in recovery and addicts can be.
Yeah, because a lot of those people that you meet along the way, you'll never see again, because they won't be around, will they? They'll die. They'll die of an overdose. I had loads of friends that, ended up passing away. A couple people that I worked with passed away. Heroin hotshots, killed them instantly. A young kid, maybe early 20s, done from it. You lose these people. I had a coworker I worked with, and he reached out to me, because he knew I was sober, and he was messaging me and on Facebook, like it was years back, and it was my first time where I was I felt like I was helping somebody, and he was like, he messaged me. He got fired from the job. He was drinking, and he went to work drunk. But he was sober, so he relapsed. So he went back, and he started getting really fucked up, and he was on the sniff, and he was getting really, really bad. And everybody was, quite worried about him. And so I messaged him just to see how he was doing. And he was like, "I was thinking about killing myself tonight, but you messaged me, and I did. I'm gonna I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to talk to you. And he talked to me for hours. And then it was like 2 days later, and I messaged him like, hey, what's up? How's it going? And he never answered me. And I was like, shit. And then somebody kind of called me that we'd worked together previously, and they're like, did you hear Frankie? He killed himself. And I was like, oh, fuck. Because he lost his job. He went back to drinking and drugs. And he felt the massive amount of shame that he felt like he couldn't live anymore. And that was tough to deal with. Because I thought, like, if I just keep talking to this guy, I can help him. And he ended up taking his life, which was
sorry, buddy.
Pretty shitty.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, no, it was really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, it's a terrible thing because, he felt so ashamed of what he'd done that he didn't feel like he could face anybody anymore. And it's, and it's part of society as well. People make you feel like shit for having relapses or bumps in your road, or, have things happen that that happen, right? You can't really, people relapse, people go back to what's comfortable, they go back to what they know, and yeah, it just gets tough for people because people don't understand it. They don't understand what people with addiction go through when they go through what they go through, like going through the recovery process. And then, you have to deal with people on a daily basis that are either drinking or using around you. For me, it was alcohol. So I deal with people that drink all the time,
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me, but like when people get really drunk, I'm just like, just I don't enjoy being around it, but
No.
I can deal with it, but it's tough for people.
Right on. Right on. Should I give you a plug here for a finish?
Yeah, man. Let's roll it home. So before the end here, I always like to do this. What are 3 things that you need in your recovery? So, like, some people need to be doing physical activity like working out, running, yoga, journaling. What are the 3 things that you are like your core things that you go to? Because I like to give this as like people can take this away as like little tips for people that are in recovery.
That should be pretty easy for me. I can jump right away first in my higher power. So, like I said, I was taught that your higher power can be anything: God, Jesus, Moses, Buddha, Allah, Great Spirit, whatever. But find something. Don't let it be a guy. Don't let it be a chick. Don't let it be, find something greater than you that you believe in. And because I had that when I had nowhere else to go and I was alone and I was in that jail in Olmsted County, Minnesota, and I fell to my knees. I mean, that's all that was left was me and whatever that was. So find something that's greater than you that you can rely on. Don't rely on anything else because they'll let you down. And even men that I sponsor, I tell them, don't put me on that pedestal. I'll let you down. I'll not show up. I'll forget to call you. Don't put me up there. Yeah. Trust me. Second thing, and this is for me because of my personality, and I've come to understand myself, how I am and what I need to do. Rory needs to keep busy. And I don't have to be crazy, but I have to keep busy, whether it's with doing work, whether it's exercising, which I like everything. I go outside, but I got to keep doing it. If I just sit idle and stare at the wall, not only will I start thinking, poor me, and I don't like this about my life. I don't like this about my wife. I don't like this about the world. Hey, let's turn on the news and watch politics, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I just don't need to do that. I need to keep busy. And with all the stuff going on in the world and the people, since we've been given this gift so freely of sobriety, that I can be out helping, be introduced, doing something. I don't need to sit home playing the poor me. And you play poor me long enough, there's an old saying, pour me another drink. You get into it. So go do something. Go out and go do something. Go be doing something, whatever it is. It doesn't necessarily have to go to the gym. If you go to the gym, great. But go do something, man. Something. Go build a fucking fort in the woods out of trees or plant some fucking plants. Something. Just do it like, oh, yay, whatever. I don't care. But do something. 2. Number 3, last and most important thing to me. I shouldn't say most important. Third most important thing is I have to stay connected just like we're doing right now. I need to talk about my recovery. And if people are like, I don't understand about going to AA and everyone's still talking about their problem. No, it's talking about the growth. It's also talking about what we learned. It's talking about what's new. It's talking about ideas and things, and also us as a group doing things together, being a part of the we. But I have to stay involved in some type of recovery or talking with other alcoholics and drug addicts on a daily basis, or if not weekly basis in some way, shape, or form, or I will detach and I'll start going off on my little way and my little, I got my whole little world, and then I'll be out there on my own. And when shit gets tough, like you said, you nailed it. I'm going to do what's comfortable. All of a sudden it's going to start and I'll be like, well, I'm not going to do I'm not going to do any Coke, but I'll have a beer. I mean, that's fine. No, it's not for me. There's nothing. There's no any kind of mood altering chemical of any kind in my recovery am I capable of at all. So that would be 3.
Yeah. Nice. That's a great 3. I like those. I like those a lot. So why don't we let's give the website a plug.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the book is called Should Have Been Dead.
And the book?
It's on. Yep. It's called you can go on our website, which is www.shouldhavebeendead.com. Our book, it's available on Amazon. It's available on Kindle. It's available on audiobook now. Just 2 weeks ago, it came out on audiobook. So any kind of mainstream, anything, or you can just Google my name, Rory Londer, and a ton of stuff comes up on the internet. Or you can go on my Facebook speaker page, which is Rory Londer Speaker, RORYLONDER Speaker. And then it kind of follows me and where I'm speaking and what I'm doing. We have events pages. We have all kind of shit. But we're new. We're learning. Give us a little bit of patience and grace. We're figuring our shit out. But it's been an awesome ride. So I don't care if this ends tomorrow. The last 5 months of my life have been fucking awesome. And to think who I am and where I come from and doing the things that I'm doing today. And I'm only pray. And I pray.
Yeah.
Pray for me if I can get you to. But I want to get one big one. I want to go on a show or whatever. And the books, here's the catch in all this. When we listed it on Amazon, Amazon said, you want to sell your books for $17.99 or $10.99? And you know what we said? $10.99. We're not looking to make money.
Yeah.
And the final catch, any money that we've made, we've never taken, myself or the author, a single dollar ever. Any extra money we get when we get a month where we're in the green, we buy books and we put them in the prison system. We've never taken a single dollar. So we're proud of that.
Amazing. That's amazing. That's it. Giving it back to the people who need it. And that's what it's about. Awesome. Rory, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I truly appreciate your time. I appreciate your story. It's been amazing. And good luck in your speaking all over the place, man. Enjoy it. I love it.
All right. Thank you, my friend.